Right-wing evangelical activist Peggy Nienaber was caught on tape bragging about offering prayer services and executing prayer services for conservative Supreme Court justices, which is a massive conflict of interest. Now, she got caught admitting this on tape while speaking at a protest event. In fact, it wasn't even a protest event. It was a victory party in front of the Supreme Court to celebrate the reversal of Roe, meaning the stripping of reproductive rights from women. And here is what she admitted while someone was recording her. Let's watch.
It's not really a church, we're a ministry center for the justices.
Wow, what does that mean? You pray with the justices?
Yes, we're the only people that do that.
Oh my gosh, where are you guys from?
Here, I work right here on Capitol Hill.
And you actually pray with the Supreme Court justices?
I do.
That's amazing.
I have a card, it's somewhere in my...
And the Supreme Court justices will pray with you, like they're cool about it, or did they have to?
No, they will pray with us, those that like us to pray with them. Some of them don't.
I might want to interview you. Would you ever do an interview?
Not on that.
Okay.
Because that's totally off the record.
Okay, so let's get a few things clear here, okay? In the tape, if you had trouble hearing what she was saying, she talks about how she's praying with the Supreme Court justices. She makes clear that this conversation is off the record. Let me also say, if you say that something is off the record, you need acceptance of that from the person you're talking to, the reporter or the journalist you're talking to. You can't just simply say all these controversial things or incriminating things and then after the fact say off the record. It doesn't work that way. You need to get the agreement before you make the statements, and she didn't do that clearly. So since it's not really off the record, it was released to the public, and now we know that an evangelical activist has admitted that they've been praying with Supreme Court justices. I do the air quotes because praying is really code word for colluding, strategizing, because this is an organization that has represented the right wing in multiple lawsuits that have made their way to the Supreme Court and then later stripped women of their reproductive rights. For instance, she is Liberty Counsel's executive director of DC ministry. And they've been working on essentially any right-wing group that's bringing a social issue to the Supreme Court. They've been representing that right-wing group, right? So a few more things. She mentions in that video, quote, "We're the only people who do that," meaning we're the only ones who pray with the Supreme Court justices. No one else does it because it's a massive conflict of interest. The ministry's umbrella organization, Liberty Counsel, frequently brings lawsuits before the Supreme Court. In fact, the conservative majority in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health, which ended nearly 50 years of federal abortion rights, cited an amicus brief authored by Liberty Counsel in its ruling. And we have more details on this, but Cenk, why don't you jump in?
Okay, first, real quick on the issue that's not that important. She says off the record at the end, it's a live stream, too late.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Right, and so it's just not how it works. Okay, so now the important stuff. So look guys, this is number one, if you've got a case in front of the Supreme Court, you praying with them is, I mean, it's absurd, right?
Praying.
So, but think about it. So number one, if everybody was praying together, I would still be opposed to it, but at least, okay, you got the plaintiffs, the defendants, everybody's here, and we're just doing a respectful prayer. That's not what this is. This is, we're praying in secret with only one side, and the issue is about religion, okay? So, gee, I wonder which side they're gonna rule with, and of course they did. They overwhelmingly ruled with the side that they pray with, but more importantly than even that, which is already, that's disqualifying. There's no way they should rule on that case after they are basically, working together with one side of the case. But there's no rules left at the Supreme Court. It's just totally turned into a ridiculous institution. But the most important part is the guy who founded this group in the first place, a guy named Rob Schenck. At the time it was called Faith in Action. So first let me read you graphic 6, which tells you the history of this. And then I'm gonna tell you why this is so important from his own words, okay? They explain in the Rolling Stone piece, but Rob Schenck, the founder of the ministry, who surrendered his operations to the Liberty Counsel in 2018, tells Rolling Stone that he hosted prayer sessions with conservative justices in their chambers from the late 1990s through when he left the group in the mid-2010s. So the group is now denying that this happens. I don't believe them. Their own founder says, oh yeah, we did it for decades and decades. By the way, why did Schenck leave? So because Schenck realized, oh my God, we're actually doing the same exact thing that evangelical Christians did in Germany in the 1930s. And we're radicalizing these Republicans into some form of Christian nationalism. And so he actually stopped doing it. And it's an amazing story.
Wow, an evangelical person with a conscience?
Yeah.
That's really weird. Wow.
No, but it is.
And
that's
shocking,
why,
really.
And that's why, of course, he's been ostracized, right?
You know, it turns out that your name doppelganger has some redeeming qualities.
Right? Listen, Shank.
Literally, his
as
name
a lot
is
of
Shank.
people would call me. Anyway, so look, but he says one thing that's super important, guys. He said, look, prayer is a form of influence. We lead the prayers, and the prayers are considered, of course, sacred. So what you say in the prayers are not in dispute, right? They have the guise of the authority of God himself. So, and these are really religious justices. So he didn't use the word brainwashing, but he said basically the prayer is a political statement to influence them, and not just influence them normally, but as if God himself is influencing them.
Yep.
And look, for rational people, you think, well, that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
It's a form of manipulation.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the best word to describe it.
Yes,
yeah.
That's exactly right. And you might think, well, I mean, why would they be influenced by this rando telling them he speaks for God? No, they are. That's how a lot of religious zealots believe that with 100% certainty. So the die was cast. So what you're seeing on tape there is someone accidentally admitting that they actually secretly manipulate the Supreme Court to be even more religious and rule against our secular constitution.
Exactly, and I want to also just give you more specificity in regard to what they're manipulating these justices for through the use of religion. Nienaber intended her comments broadcast on YouTube, again, that was a live stream, to be totally off the record, she says in the clip. Now, why? That's likely because such an arrangement represents a problem for the Orlando-based Liberty Counsel, which not only weighed in on the Dobbs case, which I mentioned earlier as a friend of the court, but also litigated and won a 9-0 Supreme Court victory this May in a case centered on the public display of a religious flag. And so again, it's not just the issue pertaining to women's reproductive rights. It's any issue where Christian nationalists want to lord their, political power, their religion over the rest of our lives, right? The rest of us in the country. And it is honestly a disaster, but at the same time, while this might be a huge story, it might be a huge conflict of interest. I mean, we're talking about it on the show, it's the top of the rundown. I mean, you also have Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court justice whose wife was working alongside former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Trump's campaign lawyer John Eastman, and all this other insanity in an effort to overturn the results of the 2020 election in favor of Donald Trump, right? I mention that because Clarence Thomas should obviously recuse himself from any case involving the 2020 election. He has refused to do so. There has been absolutely no consequences, and the individuals who would threaten him with consequences is the Democratic Party, which clearly has no interest in doing a damn thing about anything that's happening in the country right now. Yeah, look, guys, now some will find this controversial, but I'm not religious. I'm just trying to give you my perspective, okay? And this perspective are now a lot of Americans. So when we hear fundamentalist religious folks saying, hey, it's okay, we pray together and then God told us that we should control your bodies and take away your freedom. We hear Zeus and Athena got together with Odin and decided that Loki should control your bodies. And that sounds totally nuts to us.
And so I know I'm not allowed to say that because religious folks are very, very, very sensitive, right? Like you guys, by the way.
I don't care about their sensitivity at all right now, not even a little bit, okay? So be sensitive, yes, cry all you want. You're trying to control other people's lives and bodies, which will have a lasting impact on the rest of their future. Like, I'm not interested in your sensitivity, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, so by the way, of course, and religious folks are completely different. There's some wonderful religious people, and then there's the zealots and the fundamentalists. But those fundamentalists would say, oh yeah, but we think you're in league with Satan, and we believe you'll burn in hell in eternity.
Awesome, ditto.
Yeah, wait, why is that not offensive? That sounds like way more offensive, doesn't it? Okay, but they say it like with regularity, like it's no big deal. But the point here is, guys, I'm deeply disturbed that we live in a country where folks who believe in Loki talking to them and Venus and whoever, whatever other goddess, the sun goddess, talking to them and whispering in their ear. Forget whether God exists, forget spirituality. The fact that they think it talks to them and tells them what to do, and that leads to them taking our freedom away, and there's nothing we could do about it. That is a very disturbing reality. And in the past, it was a minority in America. This is the first secular country in the world. It's enshrined in our Constitution. But now, the folks who believe in invisible people are about to win. And they have won now, and they do control our bodies. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.